The President, please be seated. The court is now in session, and before handing the floor to the co-prosecutor, the trial chamber wishes to confirm that the instruction for putting question simple and less complicated, but we found that still there were many questions are complicated and many questions at the same time. So the party should keep in mind that keep your line of questioning simple, short, so that we can be sure to ascertaining the truth. The floor is now given to the co-prosecutor. Now you may proceed.
I will pay particular attention to that, Mr. President. Before the break, witness, we were speaking about the arsenal where the weapons were stored during the day. If I'm not mistaken, you still haven't told me where this arsenal was located, and maybe you could tell us where it was in relation to Ta'an's office. Was it far from Ta'an's office?
I would like to confirm that the arsenal, it was not a large warehouse for weapon. It was just a wooden box where they can lock those rifles inside for that purpose.
Et où se trouvait? And where was this wooden box located? Was it in a home, in an office?
It was kept inside the compound.
Fine, but that's not very precise. Was it Ta'an who was storing these weapons, or was it someone else?
He was in charge of everything inside the compound.
Fine. You also said in your record D40/23 in Khmer, it's at ERN 0065354 to 55. French 00490909. English 00223210. And I quote, I saw the prisoners being shackled and that they beat them to force to answer during the interrogations. And later, you said, they were beaten during the interrogations with clubs, with whips, with rattan whips. End of quote, free translation. Where were these clubs and rattan whips stored that were used during the interrogations? Was it in this arsenal, or was it elsewhere?
Answer: they were not kept together with the weapon. So the clubs and whips were kept at the place of the interrogation.
And regarding this place, where were the prisoners interrogated in relation to Ta'an's office and in relation to where the detainees were kept? Was it north? Was it to the north, to the east, to the west of Ta'an's office?
Answer. It was inside the compound. It was about 30 meters away from his office.
Thank you. In which direction? North, south, east, west?
It was to the south of his office.
Was there a kitchen very close by to where prisoners were interrogated?
Yes, the kitchen was to the east of the interrogation place.
And were the prisoners interrogated in a closed building, or were there several sides that would allow you to see what was happening inside?
Answer. The wall of the interrogation hut was not covered all with the wall, but there was an open place where you can see.
I'm going to quote what Sim said, your former colleague, in his record D40/20 at Khmer page 00165334, French 00524322, English 0044. I think I have an extra number here. 3357. Question. Put the seam. Do you know how prisoners were interrogated, the prisoners that were brought in? Answer. When I would cook rice next to that place, I would always take advantage to look at what was happening secretly. And there I saw that prisoners were being beaten during the interrogation. Sometimes their heads were covered with plastic bags, and they were beaten while being asked questions. Free translation. Some prisoners were beaten to death, and they would die right on the spot. End of quote. Free translation. Do you agree with Sim? Did you observe that during the interrogations, plastic bags or plastic was used against the prisoners?
Answer. Yes, I went into the kitchen 3 or 4 times. I witnessed the same as Sim did.
Did you hear members of the Krang Tak Chang leadership speak about cold methods, hot methods that would be used during the interrogations?
No, I didn't hear that.
So I know that you said that you did not personally attend any executions because you were told to guard outside of the compound during the executions. But do you know, however, where the prisoners were executed and then buried. For example, if you can place the interrogation place, was it to the south, to the east, to the west of the place where people were buried after having been executed?
Answer: in the compound of the center was the place they did what you have just said.
Fine. Were there several places? Would the places change over time? And can you tell us where the bodies were buried in relation to the place of interrogation? To the north, to the south, to the east, or to the west?
It was to the south of the kitchen.
Fine. In another excerpt of your first record, D40/23, Khmer page 00165353, French 00490907, English 00223209. And the following question is put to you, and I quote, "Aside from the tasks you already described, do you remember anything else that they had you do?" Answer: "They had me guard outside when they killed prisoners held in that office." Question: how do you know that while they had you guard outside, they killed prisoners? Answer: I knew because they held meetings. End of quote. Who would call and chair over the meetings each time executions were to happen?
Answer: it was Ta'an who did that.
And what would Ta'an say during these meetings regarding these executions?
After the meeting of the party members, and then they told to the guard outside to be careful with the guard and do not allow anyone to escape.
You said in your second record, E319.1.33, at answer 212, the question was, were the children killed as well? Answer: sometimes they were killed and sometimes they were released with their mothers. End of quote. When you said sometimes they were killed and sometimes they were released with their mothers, were there more mothers with their children who were killed at Krang Tachang in relation to those who were released?
I don't recall this very well.
Quand vous faites
And when you refer to children who were released with their mothers. Do you have any specific examples in mind? Any names, for example, of prisoners who may have been released?
Answer: they were including Ye Nyo and her children, including Ka, Kom, and so on. And later, Be, the child of Ye Rat. That's all I can recall.
So, if I can sum this up, the children you remember who were released with their mothers represent a few people, maybe 10, less than 10 people, fewer than 10 people.
Answer: yes, you are correct.
Your former colleague Sreitan alias Duch alias Sarat said the following in his written record of interview D232/93. And the question put to him, question 53, free translation: would the prisoners sometimes released? Answer: some were released and they would go home. But 99% of the prisoners were liquidated. End of quote.
Est-ce que vous êtes d'accord?
Do you agree with Deutsch regarding the fact that the huge majority of prisoners were liquidated on site?
Answer: yes, I agree with this statement.
And regarding the very small percentage that remained or that survived, were these people released, or were others or were some transferred elsewhere?
Vers, par exemple.
For example, to Meng's prison.
Answer: when they were released, they were sent to their home villages.
Do you know if Sen, whom you knew there, Sain Sen, and other prisoners, do you know if they were asked to make palm wine from what they would pick from the sugar palms?
Yes, I know him.
Je n'ai pas bien compris votre...
I did not understand your answer. So would they make palm wine, alcohol, during that period for the Krang Tachang staff?
Answer: yes, he was ordered to produce a bottle or a thug of sour sugar plum. Because I was young, I did not drink those kind of sour sugar plum.
Fine. And the 6 members of the party of the leadership unit at Krang Tachang, would they drink alcohol on a regular basis?
Answer: I saw only three people, Siang, Moon, and Cheng, who would drink this kind of alcohol.
Do you know if human remains, organs, such as gallbladders, were taken from the prisoners to be added to the palm wine?
Answer: I didn't see, and I didn't know about this.
I'm going to now finish with the detention conditions at Karang Tachan between 75 and 1979. You specifically described these conditions and the conditions that prevailed in the places where the prisoners were detained in your record D40/23. In Khmer, it's at pages 00165355 to 57. In French, at 004909 10 to 11. In English, 00223211 to 12. And in particular, you said, when the prisoners were brought to the compound, the prisoners were placed into detention set places, both feet shackled, and a metal rod from underneath the ankles was inserted through the shackle rings. There were about 10 prisoners shackled to each other per row, and there were 2 rows in the buildings detaining the prisoners. And later, you said that sometimes the prisoners would be handcuffed by their wrists, and the handcuffs were called automatic handcuffs or 8-shaped handcuffs. And the 8-shaped handcuffs were used to handcuff a prisoner by his 2 wrists. Now, the automatic handcuffs were used to tie 2 prisoners together, each by the wrist. At the following answer, you said, when the prisoners wanted to relieve themselves, they called out for us, the guards, and their handcuffs were taken off, but one hand was then connected to another prisoner. So we will skip a question. So, the prisoner who had relieved himself, did he not get to clean up? And you answered, no. After the prisoner had relieved himself, there was no cleaning up. 4 questions later, in each detention building, did any prisoners die? And if yes, how? Yes, some died of hunger because of the tortures to get confessions, and when a prisoner had been beaten too severely, he would die when he would return to the detention building. There were also prisoners who died because of insect bites, but especially they died of hunger. And finally, you said, at the question, when the prisoners fell ill, then what? And you answered, there was no clinic there. The prisoners who were sick just laid there moaning and died. That's all. End of quote. Do you know why the prisoners were treated in this way? Because they had no water, they had no food, And also, there was no medical care. So why were they kept in such conditions?
Answer: I don't know the reason why, nor did I know their plan for doing so.
Lorsqu'un prisonnier mourut,
When a prisoner died of illness or as a result of beatings received during interrogations in a detention building, who withdrew them from that building? Were they taken out by guards like yourself or other prisoners detained in those facilities?
that was carried out by the people who worked inside the compound. Quand vous dites les gens qui travaillent à l'intérieur,
When you say people working within the centers, do you mean prisoners or staff members working at Krantachan Center?
they organize people, for example, like in the case of SAN, so they use the internal force there to carry out that task. Très bien. Est-ce qu'à
Very well. Apart from Sen, was a person called Tachim also responsible for taking out bodies for burial? Chin is spelled as C-H-E-M or C-H-I-M.
there was one person by the name of Tachin, but he died. Dernière question, monsieur.
Last question, witness, before I give the floor to the civil parties. With some detachment, remembering what happened in Kranchachan, are your memories of what happened painful? And if yes, can you explain why to us?
I feel the pain because 4 of my uncles were detained there and they all died. And one of my aunts also was detained and died there. Et est-ce qu'ils sont décédés avant que vous arriviez sur place ou bien vous...
Did they die there before you got there or while you were already there?
They died before I was assigned to work there. Très bien, merci, monsieur.
Very well. Thank you, witness, for your patience and for your answers. I know it has been long. I will now give the floor to the civil parties. Thank you.
President, thank you, prosecutor. And the chamber would like now to give the floor to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties. You can proceed. Civil party lawyer. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, Mr. President, Your Honors, and good morning, everyone in and around the courtroom. My name is Jetwan Lee. I'm a lawyer for civil parties. And good morning, Mr. Witness Wan Seun. Yesterday afternoon and this morning, you have testified on many points to the chamber, and that would shed a light on justice for this court. And I'd like you to do the same for certain questions that I will pose to you to supplement all those points that you have responded so far. And in the interest of time, allow me to begin my questioning. In your statement, that is D40/23, Khmer EAN is 00165353, and in English 00223209, and in French 00490907. You stated that you were assigned to guard, and if people fled, then we would be in trouble. Can you explain to the court what you meant by that? Answer. Yes, I can do that. What I stated in the statement means if prisoners escaped, it means we, the guards, would be arrested and detained in place of those escaped prisoners. And that's what they said at the time. Thank you. Question. So, you had a serious burden on your shoulder, that is to guard that security center, am I right? Answer. For us who stood guard outside, yes, the burden fell on our shoulder. It means we need to be arrested. We had to walk straight into the prison in case of a prisoner escaped. Thank you. Question. In performing your duty as a guard with other 5 members of your unit, and as you stated yesterday to this chamber, your main duty was to guard outside. Can you also tell the court, in terms of the assignment to guard, what were the details of the duty that you had to perform? Answer. We were instructed to pay particular attention to the prisoners so that to make them confess and to confess properly. But as for us, we did not engage in those work. We only engage in the working in the rice fields or to carry Mount Earth or the earth from the bottom of the pond. Question. Out of your 6-member unit, can you tell the court the specific duty for each member? Answer. Yes, we were assigned different work, but I did not know the details of the assignment, and I was the youngest amongst the 6 members, and I only knew about what I was assigned to do. Thank you. Question. Also, in your response, 174 and 75 in document E319.1.33, you stated that you were told for you, the outside guard, it means you would stand guard outside, and for the staff working inside, they deal with the business inside the compound. Can you elaborate a bit further on this point? Answer. For us to guard the outer perimeter, and for those people who work inside, I mean, their duty was to deal with the killing of the prisoners. Thank you. Question. Does it mean when you were assigned to guard outside, it was the time that they were executing prisoners? Is this correct? Answer. Yes. Thank you. Question. During the execution, Do you know who were the executioners? Answer. They were the 6 party members. Question. Can you tell the court the names of those members, party members? Answer. They were An, Ping, Cheng, Moon, Chiang, and Chun. Thank you. Question. Have you come across the name Khon or Ruh? Answer. Before 1975, that is before I arrived there, there were these 2 people working there, but I did not meet them when I arrived. Question. Did you know of their roles or positions at the Krantachan office? Answer. No, I did not know their background. I only heard that Khon came back from Vietnam. Question. Was he also a perpetrator or an executioner? Answer. I did not know about that. Question. I'd like to read an extract from your statement before the Office of OCIJ based on document E319.1.33. In question answer 193, to your knowledge, which reads, to your knowledge, did you know only Khon and Ruh were the interrogators? Answer. There were 5 party members who were perpetrators of the killing: Chiang, Ping, Moon, Ruh, and Khon. I met Ping 10 years ago. Now he is dead. As for the rest, I do not know. Question answer 191. Do you know, why did you know that Khon and Ruh were the perpetrators? Answer. In fact, one of my uncles was detained there at Krantachan office and he was killed there. My husband had asked me to search for him. I asked people about this and later they told me not to talk about it again. Are these your statements? Can you tell the court whether Khon and Ruh were the perpetrators of the killing at Krantachan office? Answer. My statements are correct. However, in that statement, it was what I spoke. It refers to what I spoke with Tacheng because Tacheng had been at Krantachan office before my arrival. Thank you. Question. Did you yourself participate in any interrogation process of prisoners held at the Krantachan office? Answer. No, I did not. Question. Did you ever see or hear about the interrogation process? Answer. During the interrogation process, I mostly was not there. I was sent to water vegetable or to plant vegetable. Question. Mr. Wan Soon, among the 6 members of your guard unit, did you ever hear them talking about the interrogation process. The prisoners were beaten, and the materials used to beat those prisoners. Answer. Yes, there was a torture during the interrogation because there were clubs, rotten ribs, and bamboo clubs, etc. In addition, and most importantly, they would suffocate those prisoners with plastic bags during the interrogation process. Thank you. Question. Can you also tell the court about some points that I will put to you? Before prisoners were killed, was there a meeting held that staff or guards were given specific assignment? Answer. Before the interrogation, the execution took place. We were assigned to guard outside, and we were warned not to allow any prisoner escaped. Question. Did you hear or did you know that they assigned people to dig pits or to force prisoners to dig pit or to prepare a certain specific period of the day for the execution of prisoners? Answer. That was the business for the internal people working inside a compound, and I was not aware of it. Thank you. Question. I'd like now to move on to another subject. Yesterday, you testified before the chamber that you were a district soldier and you were assigned to Trapangpo village for 1 month to wait and arrest any CIA agent. Can you also tell the court before you were assigned to go there, were you given any specific instructions before you were sent out to catch or arrest those CIA agents? Answer. Before I was sent out on the assignment to catch CIA agents, I was not given any specific details. However, only when I was there, I was told that we were there in order to catch CIA agents. But during the more than 1 month period that I was there was no sign of any CIA agent. Thank you. Question. Can you tell the court what you meant by CIA or CIA agents? How they identified CIA or CIA agents? Were they considered their enemy? Please provide explanation through the court. Who were considered CIA or who were considered their enemy? Answer. CIA was those who were considered to infiltrate into the rank. Question. What about the term enemy? Answer. The term enemy refers to traitors. Question. Can you also tell the court, in terms of the word enemy, was enemy applied only to best people, to new people, or the 17 April people, or the 18 April people, or the former civil servants of the Lone regime? Answer. The word enemy was determined for those who stole chicken or potatoes or damaged staff or cooking utilities in the cooperative. those people were considered enemy. Thank you. Question. While you were a district soldier, did you ever go to lend hand to people working in the rice fields at the cooperative? Answer. While I was a district soldier, I did assist the people in the rice farming, in particular during the rainy season, at Ching Trong commune, at Ku commune, at Popel and Trapang Thom Khang Cheung communes. Question. Besides going down to assist the people in the rice fields at the cooperative, did you, as a district soldier, understand about the situation of the enemy at the cooperative? Answer. No, that was a separate business. The district army did not have any involvement with the army at the base. Thank you. Question. Your district army, or in your district army, how many soldiers were there? Answer. It was referred to as a 100-man unit, and usually the real force was about 50 to 70 men. As for the 50-man unit, there's supposed to be 50 men, but actually only about more than 10 was in the 50-man unit. Thank you. Question. And who was overall in charge of the district army? Was the administrator at the district, or was it controlled by the party? Answer. I only know John, who was a battalion, or rather companion commander, but I did not know specific commander for each unit underneath. Thank you. Question. While you were with the district army, was your station or barrack located at the district, or was it just based on a house of a villager within the district? Answer. While I was with the district army, we were based along the foot of the Mray Romil mountain. Thank you. Question. Yesterday you stated that at the Krantachan office, 6 party members led the office, including An, Ping, Cheng, Moon, so on and so forth. Does it mean that 6 people have the right to make decision to execute people at Krantachan office? Answer. When there was a letter from the upper echelon, they would make that decision based on that letter. Question. As for you yourself, what was your role in terms of a party membership? Were you a party member, or were you in a youth league? Answer. No, I did not belong to any of these two because I was very young. Question. What about the rest of your unit, the 5 members? Did they belong to the party membership, or did they belong to the youth league? Answer. No, those 5 members did not have any position in the 2 sections that you just stated. Council, thank you very much for your response, and in the interest of time, I don't have any further questions for you, and I'd like to hand the floor to my international counterpart. President, thank you. and the international lead co-lawyer for civil parties. You have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Witness, my name is Marijiro. I am civil party international lawyer. I have only 2 questions to put to you in principle. This morning, you stated that the interrogation room at Krantachan was open and that you saw prisoners being tortured. You also said that bamboo clubs or plastic bags were used. I would like to put 2 questions to you regarding the treatment that was meted out to charm prisoners, I beg your pardon, to prisoners who were women. My first question is as follows. During your stay at Krantachan, did you see women who were detainees and who were women who were undressed by men at Krantachan?
Regarding this point, in fact, my aunt told me about it. My aunt was detained there for 3 years, and they used a rope to hang the neck of the prisoners. And my aunt still bears the mark on her neck at the present time.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. I wanted to know whether women who are detainees were treated in a particular way different from men when they were being interrogated. I'm asking you to tell me what you saw with your own eyes or what your aunt told you. Were women undressed before or during interrogations?
During the interrogation, as my aunt told me, they used a rope to hang at her neck. And however, for later on, when I was there, I did not see any prisoners who were tortured that way during the interrogation process.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. A while ago, you talked of bamboo clubs or plastic bags that were used to torture prisoners. Mr. President, we did not get the exact word used by Counsel Giro in her question.
There is an interpretation issue. Please repeat the question.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will repeat my question. A while ago, you talked of bamboo clubs and plastic bags that were used as instruments to torture detainees. Did you see any pliers as well?
I did not see any plier at that location.
Je voulais juste vous...
I just wanted you to react to something, and this will be my last question. Sai Sen, during his examination in February last year, and I'll quote an extract of his record. At about 10:09:54, in answer to a question put to him, did you ever hear or see detainees whose nails were removed during interrogations. I only saw pliers being used to pull out nipples of women. I'm asking you to tell me whether you saw those pliers being used during interrogations to remove prisoners' nipples during interrogations.
No, I did not see it.
Dernière question, est-ce que
Last question. Regarding women detained at Grand Chachan, were they treated in a particular way differently from the way men were treated at Grand Chachan?
No, I did not know the details since I was not there directly.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le témoin.
Thank you, witness. Thank you, Mr. President. I have no further questions.
President, thank you. It is now convenient. And rather, I'd like now to hand the floor to Judge Levine.
Oui, merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. Witness, I will have a few quick questions to put to you to try to clarify certain points. You said that at Krang Tachang there were two people called Duik and who were working there. There was Duik who came from the district, and there was another Duik who was part of the same unit as you. Do you know what the duties were of the Duke coming from the district? What were his duties at the district level?
Answer. Duke, who was from the district office, he was the chief of the district youth unit.
And what were his duties? What did they consist of?
Answer. I don't know all of his duties.
Vous avez
You also spoke about a certain Duke who was also called Sarat. You spoke about him yesterday. So who was Sarat? Was this the Duke coming from the district, or was this the Duke working with you in the guard unit?
Answer. Deutsch alias Sarat was the one who was the guards in my group.
Was that his name, or was that a nickname? Was there a specific reason to call him Sarat?
At that time, he was called Deutsch, but now he changed to Sarat. I don't know the reason behind that.
And back then, was he called Little Duke? Is that a nickname you heard?
Answer. Yes. He was called Little Deutsch, and another one was called Big Deutsch.
And you explained that in your unit there was you and other guards, Sang, for example, and Sim. you also said that before arriving at Krang Tachang, you were at the Domrey Romlia mountain and at the village of Trapieng Lik or Trapieng Lo. Were Sang and Sim with you over there?
At that time, we were in different units, and when we met, we were at Tropangpo village.
And Little Duke, was he with you as well at Damrey Romil or at Trapeangpu?
Answer, only little Deutsch who was always with me because he was in my group, in the same group.
So Little Duke was always with you since Takeo all the way to the Domrey Romil village, the village at Trapeangpo, Trapeangling, and at Krang Tachang as well. Did you arrive at the same time as he?
Answer, yes.
You said yesterday that you were part of the Krang Tachang staff and that you would receive orders from Ta'an and from Peng. Would you also receive orders from the military authorities, from the regiment you had belonged to, or would you only receive orders from Ta'an and from Peng?
Answer, when I was at Krang Tachan, I would receive order only from Ta'an. But when I was in the army, I was receiving order from my unit, my commander.
Yesterday you said that you stayed at Krang Tachang until 1979. Can you confirm that?
Answer, yes.
And did Little Duke stay with you at Krang Tachang until 1979 as well?
Answer, no. Little Deutsch was removed from the place earlier.
Aside from Little Duke, who would type up documents?
Ta'an would do the typing by himself.
I don't remember what you said concerning this, but do you remember having heard loudspeakers at Krang Tachang?
Answer, yes, I remember.
And when would these loudspeakers start working and why?
They would play music on loudspeaker when they do the killing of the prisoners.
And earlier on, you said that you would not hear, you would hear the beatings, but you would not hear their cries because they no longer had the strength to yell. But would you hear the sound of the loudspeakers?
Answer. They don't use a loudspeaker on top of a tree, but they use a small square speaker, two small box of speaker to play music, to make sound.
Vous avez également
You also spoke about the sanitation conditions, and you said that in the detention buildings there were many bugs, and you said that some prisoners would die because they were bitten by these bugs. Can you confirm this?
Answer. I did not witness, I never enter to see that kind of incident. The President, Council, you may proceed. I'm sorry, Mr. President, I would like to interrupt the questioning by the judge. So it seemed to us that the time is past for the lunch break, so the chamber should respect to the decision by itself, because we need some time for our client, Mr. Kilsampon, to have a proper rest. The President, Judge Laverne, do you have more question to put to the witness? If so, could you refer to put to this witness in the afternoon?
I have a very small question that might take 30 seconds of our time. And witness, did you see people from the district hospital spray at Kang Trachang to kill insects?
Answer. There was one time that they visit the center to do that. The President, thank you, Judge Laverne, and the witness. It is now time for a lunch break. We would resume at 1:30 this afternoon. Court officer, please coordinate the witness for his rest for the lunch break, and have them back into the courtroom, and also his duty counsel at 1:30 this afternoon. Security personnel are instructed to bring Mr. Kilsampon to the room under this courtroom, and have him back into the courtroom this afternoon before 1:30.